Hey guys, Dwindling Elves here, and today I've got a 2,500 point game between my MSU Dark Elves and a Lizardman opponent. So as for magic, we both have a lot of it. I have a level 4 of Shadow, and I got Miasma, Withering, Pendulum, and Pit of Shades. I was kind of disappointed I didn't get Mind Razor, but it's okay. And then I have my level 2 Warlocks who always come with Soul Blight and Doombolt. And then he has a level 4 Slan of Light. We have Speed of Light, Shem's Burning Gaze, Foz Protection, and Barona's Time Warp. I think Lizardmen work really well with Lore of Light. I think it really synergizes and it buffs them quite nicely. And then he's got a level 2 of Heavens with Wind Blast and Chain Lightning. I am worried about Chain Lightning because I have a lot of MSU. I have a lot of small units that can be easily devastated by this one spell. So here's the deployment. So on his top left, he has a unit of 10 skink skirmishers with shields and javelins. Then he has a Scarvet on a Carnosaur, and the Scarvet has an item that gives him +1 toughness, and I think he has a 3-up armor save as well. Then he has a block of 24 Saurus with full command, then 26 Temple Guard with the Standard of Discipline and the Frenzy banner, and in there he's got full command. He's got his Slan BSB who has channel on 3 dice, the channeling staff, reroll your first dispel attempt, and save one of your power dispel dice on a 2+ for your next phase. Then another block of 24 Saurus with full command, a Troglodon with the channeling skink, and 10 skink skirmishers with blowpipes. And then out of shot, he has 3 Ripperdactyls. So as for myself, I put all 3 of my shade units here, so it's 3 units of 6 shades. One of them has great weapons, but the rest are all naked. Then I've got 5 fast cav with shields and repeater crossbows. I have 14 crossbows with full command that are going to walk into that tower. Then 22 blackguard with the Standard of Discipline musician. Behind them, my level 4, she's on a Pegasus, and she has the spell scroll. She's naked beyond that. I was trying to save points everywhere where I could, and it ended up getting me an extra Warhider with a breath weapon. So, we'll see how that goes. Then I have 9 cold ones with the BSB, and they've got full command and the movement banner. Then I have a unit of 5 warlocks, and 2 bolt throwers on the hill, and a War Hydra. I'm proxying that with the Chaos Monster, the Chaos Beast. I haven't bought the War Hydra yet. I wanted to see how he did before I invested in him. And then I have 5 fast cav on my right flank facing off against his Ripperdactyls. And these guys have shields and repeater crossbows, as well as musicians. Oh yeah, and then I also have my second unit of repeater crossbowmen in those ruins. So there are 3 sets of ruins on the board. We decided to treat them as hard cover, so they're -2 to hit from shooting, and also dangerous terrain. So I got the first turn, and I didn't Vanguard with my fast cav on this flank in case I did get first turn, because then I could charge his Ripperdactyls. I was very 50-50 about this, whether it would work or not. I mean, I get 5 strength, 4 attacks with rerolls to hits and 1s to wound, and then I get the horse attacks at the same time as his Ripperdactyls. So I think if I get, if I kill 2 of his guys beforehand, which I don't know the math on, I think I'll be okay, but if I only kill 1, then I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose that combat. So it was a risky decision, but I had to choose between shooting at him, and he's skirmishers, it would have been long range, or I would have had a movement penalty, and then he could have charged my bolt thrower first turn if I didn't do enough wounds, so I just decided to charge him there. So we'll see if the gamble pays off. Then on this side, I move up my shades to get into his flank. I want to shoot down his Carnosaur if I can get like Soul Blade on it or the Withering. If not, I'm going to take out those skirmishers. I move my crossbowmen into the building, and I keep my lines relatively intact. And I'm hiding my mage behind the tower so that she doesn't get attacked, but I did a really poor job with that because he'll still be able to see me with his magic missile spells. So then in the magic phase, I get the Withering off and reduce the toughness of the Carnosaur by 2. So the Carnosaur is now toughness 3, and the guy on top is toughness 4 because he's got the +1 toughness helmet or whatever item that might be. And I did this irresistibly. I have a habit of throwing 4 dice at the Withering and rolling in irresistible force. It's happened to me the last 3 times I've cast this spell, so I take 1 wound on the miscast, which is okay. And in the shooting phase, I pretty much put all my shooting into the Carnosaur, and I take it out. And then I also put 1 wound on the Scarvet on top. So I'm glad that that threat's dealt with, and that really should allow me to roll up his flank with my shades, which is what I was trying to do. So game plan's going according to plan. Except for on the opposite flank, where I did 2 wounds to him. You know, if I had done maybe 3 might have been average, but then I, still would have still had that many attacks back. And he kills 4 of mine, and I'm in a bad position now because when I break, he's gonna get free pursuit in the direction that he wants to go in, which will make his charges for the next turn even easier. And that's what ends up happening, but he only rolls like a 3 or a 4 on the pursuit, and my fast cav guy gets away. He's on Snake Eyes to rally, and it takes him a couple of turns, but he runs off the board. So then in Lizardmen turn 1, so like I said, he pretty much gets a free charge into my bolt thrower, except he needs like a 6, and he's got Swift Stride, he's flying, and he rolls like a 3. And he ends up in the woods, and when we roll for the woods, they end up being a stupidity forest. So now he's got to stake stupidity tests so that he can get out of the woods, but I'm pretty sure he's on like leadership 4 or 5. So that worked out pretty well. So I got a little bit lucky there. As for the rest of his lines, they march up as quickly as possible. In the magic phase, he knows I'm going to shoot him to death, so he gets Bubbles Faw's protection off. I was okay with this because I really was worried about Chain Lightning, and I didn't want him to target my level 4 Chain Lightning, so I'd put all my dice into dispelling that, and I actually used my Dispel Scroll in the first turn as well. So then, Dark Elves turn 2. I hold my main battle line, and I move up my Shades and my Fast Cav on my left flank to keep picking off at him. And one of my Shades units also charges the Skinks who would, in the previous turn, marched into the building, or into the ruins, and tried to shoot my my level 4, but to no avail. And on this flank, I just repositioned the Hydra. In the magic phase, I Doombolt his Scarvet off the table, and then I get Soul Blight off on the unit of source here, and my plan is again to shoot them, so it's a lot easier to kill them when they're toughness 3 instead of toughness 4. On this flank, I shoot off one of the Ripperdactyls, so if he ever does make it into my bolt thrower, I might be able to kill him before he even gets to hit me, so that, that's impossible if he has 2, but if he has 1, I still get a shot. And my shooting is relatively weak this turn. I only end up picking off 4 of these guys, which was a bit disappointing. And in the combat phase over here, I lose 1 Shade, and he loses 2 Skinks. And he breaks, and I lose another Shade to dangerous terrain, and then I end up there. So then Lizardman turn 2. He flies his Skink Priest out of the unit. Oh yeah, so his Skink Priest has a fly ability, or he has an item that lets him fly. So his plan there is to again Chain Lightning my level 4. Which is a decent trade-off if he gets that spell through. If he doesn't get it through, then I can charge him very easily with my level 4. So we'll see what happens there. And he moves up his lines, as you can see, so he's slowly but steadily coming towards me, but he's keeping his battle line together, which is obviously a good move. And then on the right side, his Ripperdactyl fails Stupidity and just stumbles forward a bit. So again, getting very lucky with that stupid forest. In the magic phase, again, I have to try to stop Chain Lightning because I need to preserve my level 4. which means that he gets Baroness Time Warp through on these Temple Guard, which is really, really bad for me because now they're movement 8 and they can pretty much charge anything they want next turn. So yeah, that's I'm in a bad spot there. So as a result, my response to this is to double charge his unit that is in the forest, and hopefully I will overrun in such a way that he will no longer be able to see me. I'll be behind his lines, and he'll be playing catch up, and then maybe I can dual charge his Temple Guard after I've dealt with the unit on the left. And then I also charge my War Hydra into the skinks in the forest. So I think that should be a pretty easy victory for that Hydra. And I move up the rest of my Shades and Fast Cav and whatnot to try to get in position to shoot his Temple Guard. Now, I know he's got Baroness Time Warp off, and if my Cold Ones don't get overrun past him, I'm in trouble because I didn't use my MSU chaff units very effectively, and there's nothing I can do to put in front of, like, I can't put anything in front of his Temple Guard to frenzy bait them or whatever. There was just nothing in range. So I'm relying on a big overrun to just blow right past them. And then on this side, my level 4 charges is level 2, so I feel pretty good about that. And in the magic phase, I get a preemptive Soul Blight off on these guys, so that if they do get into combat next turn, they'll be toughness 3 and strength 3. So that's nice. So in this fight over here, I do 1 wound to him, and he does 1 wound to me, surprisingly. Oh no, sorry, I did 2 wounds to him, and he does 1 wound to me, so that's, I end up winning there, and I just end up reforming. And over here, the War Hydra breaks the skinks, and in my shooting phase, I put a bunch of shooting into the Temple Guard in the center, and I think I ended up taking out 4 of them. And in the combat phase, yeah, I wipe out, I think I kill 10 of his Saurs. He kills 1 of my Cold Ones and does no wounds to my Blackguard. And here I realize I've made a huge mistake. I'm going to pursue with both units, but my Blackguard are going to clip my Warlocks on the left there. So they're not going to move at all. So that was poor positioning with them. But even if they did overrun, if it wasn't the Warlocks, it would have been the Shades that I put in the force, and that was very, very stupid on my part. I think I put them there so that they would be within short range, and the Temple Guard so they can shoot. But it was really, really short-sighted, because now both of my guys, or my Cold Ones, when they overrun, they're gonna run into the Shades and stop as well. So that was a huge blunder on my part. I really need to be more careful when I move my units. So we overrun, the Blackguard run into the Warlocks and stop. The Cold Ones didn't actually roll very far on the overrun either. I think they rolled like a 4, which is very unfortunate. So even if the Shades weren't there, he'd still get an easy flank charge into me. And of course I am stupid, which means I'm immune to psych, which means I can't flee. So yeah, this is bad news for me. I am going to lose my BSB in those Cold Ones to an easy flank charge. And that's what happens on Lizardman turn 2-3. He rallies his Saurus, he gets the flank charge in, and then he also charges his Troglodyte into my War Hydra. And I think that's a relatively favorable matchup. I think I'll win that in the long run, so I didn't end up using my Breath Weapon against him because I want to save it for the Saurus, who have positioned themselves in the event that the War Hydra breaks the Troglodon, that they won't get flank charged, and they can maybe charge in on the next turn. Yeah, so in the magic phase, I didn't want him to get Baroness Time Warp off, so he got Speed of Light through, and he also got Fast Protection through, which means I'm going to do very little damage to him, because I'm only hitting him on 6s. And as expected, yeah. My BSB, a challenge with my BSB, and he accepts with his champion. So we do no wounds to each other there. I do no wounds to him with any of my other units. and he ends up killing all but 3 and my BSB, and my banner and BSB break. I get lucky, and when he overruns, he only rolls like a 3 or something, and he doesn't get into my blackguard, who were way out of position as well. So that's a little bit lucky on my part. My cold ones will never end up rallying. They're on Snake Eyes as well, but they don't run off the board either. So I managed to preserve their points. And over here, he does 1 wound to me, and I do 2 wounds to him. So it's a push. So these monsters are just gonna keep fighting each other. And here I make a huge mistake, and I didn't realize that I had many options until when I created this battle report and I saw it. So what I decided to do is just have a showdown between my blackguard and his temple guard, and I figure, you know, I'm stubborn. It's gonna take him a while to cut through me, and maybe I can get some magic debuffs on him. So that was my plan, which was a really, really stupid plan. What I really should have done is taken my unit of 4 shades and put them in front of his temple guard, who were frenzied at an angle that he would have to overrun in when he destroys them, and I could have backed my blackguard up. And I don't know why I didn't think of this. This is something I realized when I was making this report. That would have been the best move. And even if I had decided that my blackguard should be fighting these guys as a tar pit, I should not have been 7 wide. I should have gone 2 or 3 wide, so that he would minimize the number of attacks he could do on me, and I would be stubborn leadership 10 for the rest of the game, and I'd probably just hold him up, which will give me enough time to deal with the rest of his army. So huge mistake on my part. I really should have just gone 2 wide or sacrificed one of my shades. Yeah, so just big mistakes. The rest of my army shuffles around, and I want to shoot at the source block that has rallied on the top left. So in the shooting phase, that's what I do. I take out that unit. After turn 4, my magic phase pretty much abandons me. I don't get any more spells off. And I take a couple of more wounds off the temple guard with the rest of my shooting. And yeah, Lizardmen turn 4, as expected, he comes into me, and at the time I was feeling relatively good about this, but I guess hindsight's 50-50. I should have never been 7 wide, I should have been 2 or 3 wide, and I should have just tar pitted him. Here I'm giving him as many attacks as he has, just a mistake. And then yeah, his magic phase just helps as well. He's now weapon skill initiative 10, so he's hitting me on 3s and I'm only hitting him 4s, and he's also got Baroness Time Warp off, so he's always strikes first, so we hit at the same time, so I can't even whatever damage I do, I can't take attacks away from him. Luckily I still get rerolls to hit though because I'm Blackguard. So, wow, this is not something that I expected. He killed 18 of my guys. 18. And I killed 8 of his. Luckily, I made my stubborn test, but actually, that might have been unlucky. It probably would have been better off if I'd failed my stubborn test and he pursued me, and maybe I got away, and then he'd be stuck in front of the building for a while. But anyway, yeah, so I made my test, and we're sticking there. Then, in the monster fight, I actually regained a wound on my previous turn because of the Hydra special rule. So I was sitting on 3 wounds. I attack him, he attacks me, we attack at the same time. I do the last 2 wounds to him, and he has 3 attacks, and he kills me as well. So he's 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, and wounding on 4s, and he does the last 3 wounds, and I'm like, wow. I was not expecting that. I was expecting that to win, and it'll be his turn, and then I could flank charge his swords with my Hydra, and hopefully do a ton of damage to them and slowly whittle them down, but it wasn't to be. So I don't actually have a good picture of Dark Elf turn 5, but in the movement phase, I moved all my shades and the fast cav to the right to shoot at the source block at the right, and I ended up taking them down from 24 guys to 8 guys, which I thought was pretty good. And I end up losing my blackguard over here, as you might expect, and his Temple Guard reform to face my my multiple small units on the top right. So Lizardman turn 5, when he reformed, I had a bunch of units overlapping, and he charged one, I fled, he charged the second one, and I fled, and he wasn't able to catch either of them because he fled through my own units, so that was fortunate for me. So I preserve all those points. And then over here, he charges his 8 remaining source into my 14 crossbowmen in the building, and I felt relatively good about this until we rolled the magic phase, and he rolled double ones, and I thought, hey, that's pretty good. And then he channeled one, and he had 3 dice to my 1, and he put 3 dice on speed of light. So these guys are weapon skill and initiative 10, which made a huge difference because normally I'm hitting them on 3s with a reroll, and I'm wounding them 5s with rerolls of 1s, so I figured, you know what, I could maybe grind it out or at least be steadfast. But this meant I was hitting him on 5s without a reroll, and he was hitting me on 3s. So, yeah. So he ends up breaking these guys, and I run off the board, and he runs off the board. And there was actually no turn 6, we ran out of time. The store was closing, so we had to stop it there. And it ended up being a draw, which really surprised me because I thought my opponent had me. But I guess in the end, all he had left was his Temple Guard and his 1 block of Source and his Slan, where I had a ton of small units that I guess were each individually not worth a lot of points, but when you add up, 6, 7, 800 point units, I think we ended up being like less than 100 points apart. So you don't see that. I haven't seen that very much in my experiences with 8th edition. You don't see many draws anymore. I thought this was a great game. I really think I made a couple of mistakes and my opponent probably outplayed me. So I think I would not have been upset if he had won. I think he did outplay me. I made a couple of mistakes. So the biggest one was engaging the Temple Guard the way that I did. I really should have either sacrificed the Shades, or if I was going to use the Blackguard to hold them up, I should have gone 2 or 3 wide. So yeah, a mistake on my part there. I need to use my chaff better. I had all my chaff on one side, on my left flank, and having maybe 1 unit of Shades on my right flank as a throwaway unit, or as a support unit, could have helped me out a lot, and it would have helped me not get in any fights with those Temple Guard. My shooting phase was relatively strong. There was 1 or 2 turns where it didn't do much, but other turns it absolutely devastated things. And I think Magic was also the difference maker at the end of the game. He got his buffs up, and I couldn't get anything up in the last 2 turns. So that really helped out, but I think it was inevitable that my Blackguard would have lost against his Temple Guard, even without the magic buffs. But that just really sealed the deal there. I thought it was a great game, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.